Hello, welcome back to Two Kids and One Doctorate. I am your host, Dr. Soyla Quesada, and today's topic is how did I know I was ready to separate from my ex-husband? I realized that throughout the last few episodes, I have been avoiding telling my story. Here I am ready. I am ready to take it back. When I first started recording these episodes, a lot of it was hard. I mean, I remember writing and thinking about what am I going to talk about when I talk about growing up with a teen mom, growing up with a single mother, growing up with no dad, meeting my dad for the first time at the age of 13. I remember feeling so much pain through that process of remembering those that I think subconsciously I started to then create episodes in which I was talking very broadly about happiness and how to let go of anger and my message to the divorced woman and all of that, right? And I've gotten away from telling the story, telling my story that I know someone will hear and be impacted by. So let's get back to the topic today. How did I know I was ready to separate? I was ready when it was hard for me to get home from work, when the last thing I wanted to do was get home from work. How did I know I was ready? When there was nothing the other person could say or do that either made me angry or happy. There were no emotions either way. I knew it when I look at my kids and say to myself that I can do this parenting thing on my own. I knew it when I felt that there was just no more from here. And it's a feeling that I can't even tell you what it is until you know it's there. So if you're a woman right now and you're listening to this, I'm not telling you to go on and separate from your husband or your partner. What I'm saying is that you'll know the feelings will be there. I remember talking to my coworkers then and asking them questions. I remember there was one person who was divorced, another person who had been married forever. And I remember asking questions. How did you know, to the divorced person, how did you know when it was time? And then to the person that was married forever, is love supposed to feel this way? Is being married supposed to feel this way? Am I supposed to not want to go home? Am I supposed to not enjoy any of this experience? And the answer was, you'll have moments in which you do not want to go home, right? This was the person that had been married for a while. There'll be times that you'll be very mad at your husband, but you get over it. You still love them. You continue on. And the person that was divorced had advised that you just know there's a time and point in which you wait around. And in this case, it was, they had other things going on. But, you just know at some point that you're done trying and then you let it go, right? And for me, it was a sudden stop of all of the things I thought marriage was going to be. And my reflecting of me feeling those feelings, why did I get to that point of wanting to be in a marriage, wanting to have a family, wanting to break wanting to break the cycle of being a divorced or a single mom. My goal, if any goal in life, was intentionally. I mean, I had many goals. Like, I got many degrees. I knew I wanted to be someone for myself. And, the pressure was on because I'm a first generation everything. I'm also an immigrant to this country. But the one thing that I was intentional about, that in my mind I thought I needed to do, was be married, raise my kids in a 2-parent household, okay? And never divorce. Why? Because I wanted to be the cycle breaker. I come from a generation of 3 divorced women or separated women, right? So my great grandma, right? My grandmother, my mom, and guess what? I couldn't break the cycle, and that's number 4 for me, right? What I learned through the process, though, after knowing that that's not where I wanted to be, that it was not the environment that I wanted to have my kids in. What happened after that, though, is that the separation happened, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I mean, you begin to question yourself, you begin to question why it's happening, why you get to that point of not wanting to be married. And obviously, it's not like I woke up one day and that was it. I didn't want to. There were things going on in the marriage. I knew then that I wasn't going to stay around to work on things. I give it up to people that do, honestly. I really do. I One day maybe my boys will be the cycle breakers themselves, but and I want to teach them skills in which they understand themselves, also know how to treat others, how to talk to others, how to be in relationship with others. It's nothing that I knew, and I think I was forcing myself to learn them while married, and that was just not going to work. So there was a lot of things that happened in the marriage. Obviously, it's not like one day I was like, that's it, I don't love you no more. But I knew in my heart that I was not going to put up with it. And I knew, though, because of the history in my family generationally, is that I also knew that it could be done, right? I also knew that a woman can live without a man, right? A woman can raise their kids without a man, right? I I know you've heard my other episodes. My grandmother raised 5 kids on her own. 5, y'all. I have 2 and I'm dying, right? She raised 5 kids. My mom had 2 kids. And then I had 2 and I was like, obviously we can do it. We're strong women. Also, if you've heard my badass episode, go back to it and listen to it because we are badass. I mean, women in general, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit, right? So, back to what I was saying though. So, after that, what happened was that then I had to figure out, okay, if this is a decision you're going to make for you and your kids, then you need to be, standing on a very strong ground. You need to stay grounded. You need to make sure that you're going to be supported regardless, with family members and friends. And you have to be ready to tell people. And now that you have to tell people, honestly, because I did it. I mean, I was divorced. I was separated. God, probably for a year before anyone knew. And I was divorced I divorced in 2018. And honestly, I don't really, I think I just now started talking about being divorced. And when I separated, it was like, not everybody knew because one, I don't think I needed to tell anyone. I also was embarrassed, y'all. Embarrassment is a real thing. Yes, it is. The shame, the thinking and the thoughts of, oh my God, what have I done? How does someone get together with someone, have children, and then decide that they don't want to be in a marriage anymore? It's real shame. It's real embarrassment. It's feeling like you failed. You're feeling like a failure. Not only are you feeling like a failure for yourself and your children, but you're also thinking, what are other people going to think about me? Which is why nowadays I'm more of like, I don't give a, what people think about me. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do for me. And yes, I thought about that then too. Like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do for me. And there was still hesitation for me to let anyone know that I was going through issues, right? Either on my own, of my own, that I need to work through in the marriage, and that at some point I was separated, and that then at some point I was divorced. And my children were young, peeps. My children were young. My oldest was only 2 years old. My youngest was less than a year old. All right, so you can only imagine how deeply felt I knew that I didn't want to be in that relationship, because even though my kids were young and I knew it was going to be a hard time, I was like, I can't do it. Now, let me tell you something. Do I know that if we would have gone to couples therapy, perhaps it would have helped? Absolutely. Do I know that if we would have been better prepared to be in a marriage, it would have worked? Absolutely. Do I know that when we started having problems, or I had started saying to myself, I don't want to be in this relationship, I would have maybe gone into therapy, maybe figured out what was going on within me that was letting me this way? Would it have worked? Absolutely. However, it did not, right? And I just want to tell you that if you're in a place right now where you think there's a way to save the marriage or the relationship, go for it. Find that help. Find whatever it is that you need to figure it out. For me, I think, I can't even remember right now, but I do believe I was in therapy, and then I still knew it. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh yeah, let's talk through your feelings and your childhood trauma. And I still knew it in my heart and my soul and all of my body that I was not going to put up with anything else, that I wasn't going to do it for one more day. And that's how I knew and when I knew, right? So I just told you all of that. I've just talked a few minutes about all of it because it's a lot of things, right? It's where I'm coming from in terms of understanding my experience as a child and as a granddaughter of single moms, single mothers, and my own things that I needed to work through, the things that him and I needed to work through. And the fact that then I started looking at my children as like, okay, do I do this? Do I stay together for my children? Right? Now, if you've been separated or divorced, you know you've all thought about this. Do I stay together for my children? And that's some serious thinking when you start to think about, like, okay, what is best for my children? Can I stay in this relationship and make it work for the sake of my children? And when I thought about that, I didn't. I didn't think I needed to do it for my children. Was it very hard mentally and emotionally for me after the separation and the divorce? And then not finding out, but figuring out through a lot of human behavior of my ex-husband that I now am a whole single mother. I don't have any assistance in any way, either with time, finances, calls, nothing, y'all, nothing. Okay. Now, if I would have had a little crystal ball that would have said, girl, he ain't gonna stay around to be a dad. He ain't gonna do it. Would I have maybe thought about it? Maybe. But still probably would not have done it. Right? Why? Because my children are happier and better now. Because I am happier and better now. I am more balanced, and so are my children. And they're taken care of, okay? They are definitely taken care of. What I was going to say, though, after that was also that once you understand that you no longer want to be in the relationship, you have to put steps into place. You know, you need to make sure that you're going to have a job, that not to expect anything from the other person, because you just don't know where they're going to end up, how they're going to end up, what state of mind they're going to be in. Are they going to use the anger that they have against you, against your children, right? By being an absent parent. So you do have to think about all of those things. So yes, y'all, I got to the point in which I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play fake that we love each other, we're in love, and I just don't want it. I didn't want to play the role of wife. And, you know, as I'm even speaking into this microphone, and sorry, y'all, I feel like this is also a whole therapy session. So stay with me because I know I've jumped from place to place here. Is that I did not want to play the role of wife. Okay? Mind blown, mic drop, whatever you want to call it. I didn't know then that I wasn't excited about being a wife. All the things that came with being someone's partner, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I get to be someone else's half. Or I'm so excited. Someone else is going to like support me. Or I'm so excited. We're going to build a life together. Obviously, when we got together, I was like, of course people grow up and get married and create families and live a happy life, and perhaps even get their white fences and their houses with the cute little window borders and stuff. What I realized in the relationship though is that it wasn't something I was excited to do. It wasn't something that I was like, wow, this now defines me. Now this defines my life. I was not. And oftentimes I think about maybe if we would have started together, you know, professionally together, financially together, maybe we would have been in a different place. But I feel that I didn't need anyone else for any additional anything that I couldn't give myself, right? And that's hard to come to terms with too. Like, wait a minute. The thing that society says I'm supposed to do, I actually don't give a you know what about. So the thing that I'm supposed to be as a grown woman, it's not what I actually want. Yes, And that was such a revelation for me. Till this day, I have no interest in being coupled with someone, expecting them to do anything for me, any of that. I always say, if love finds me, I would absolutely welcome it and nurture it and support it. And definitely from what I learned in my past relationships, and now that I'm more aware of my own faults, because you have to think about, okay, you also had something to do with it, right? I also now I know, and that awareness is bringing a different perspective into my life. And yes, if it comes, oh my gosh, thank you. But I'm not looking at it as the typical wife role that we all grow up to thinking we need to have or we need to be. You can actually, yes, you can actually grow into age alone and be happy. You can do all the things in life and not have to always be looking for a partner, not always be looking for a marriage, not always be looking to creating a family. Because that's not the end of it all, right? Your life continues even after that. So, yes, that was a revelation I had, that I'm absolutely fine. I am okay. I don't, the role of wife wasn't something that I wanted, but I didn't know then. I was just doing it because I thought I needed to do it. It's kind of interesting, though, that at the end of it all, I ended up just like I was supposed to, right? I went through the motions, I went through the things that were supposed to happen, and there were moments of, oh, this doesn't feel right. Is this what you really want? And in the end, deciding for myself what I needed for me and for my kids, and no realizing that it was the right thing to do. It feels good. Again, this episode is not to convert any folks who are married into getting divorced. This is more me talking to you about my experience, specifically in this episode about when I knew that it was time to separate, and I talked a little bit about what happened after as well. Understanding that each of you, each of us, we are our own individual person. We have our own individual needs. And that may mean that our needs are with someone else, and that may mean that our needs are met by not being with someone else. And to be okay with either of those options. And you can create your own option as well, right? And so I got out of this whole experience that I will always follow my heart. I will always follow what it is that my heart, my soul, my body, my spirit is yelling at me to do. And that at the end I will live happy, I will live content, fulfilled, because I am doing what genuinely feels good to me. And that's why I talk so much about, even in some of my other episodes, about you knowing your self-worth and you also loving yourself more than anyone else first, loving yourself first, understanding yourself first, to then understand what it is you need of the world, what you need of other people. All in all, I have to tell you, I knew it and I went through it. There was no holding on to it. There was no working on it for a few more years for me. I knew it then that I was going to do it, that was just the only way out. But I know there are people that work through it and years later are happy-go-lucky couples, or they're still working through stuff, but they still put it on a face that they're doing well and that they're just this happy, loving family. Understanding that there's a lot of in-betweens as well. So there are the ones that post on social media how excited and happy they are, but they're not behind closed doors. And there are those that are genuinely happy, even through the heartaches, even through the hardships, right? And that's all good. That is all good. This episode is mostly about how I knew I was ready and a little bit of what happened afterwards. You will know. There will be no one that can tell you otherwise. You will know. You will try to find answers. You will try to ask other people with different experiences. And at the end of the day, you have yourself to count on. You have yourself to listen to. And once you decide that, it's on you to take on the next steps. And I'm sending lots of positive vibes and lots of love. if you're in that space right now. And also lots of positive vibes and lots of love if you've already gone through it and any of this resonated with you. I appreciate you and keep enjoying the show. And that is it for today. Take care. Much love and appreciation to you for coming back to the show for every episode. This is Dr. Zoila Quesada, or Zoila, the host of 2 Kids, 1 Doctorate. Stay tuned for much more of my story. Take care.